afternoon, everybody. I want to thank everyone tuning in for our first 4 virtual signings of the weekend. I hope everyone enjoyed last night's big soccer triumph over Paraguay. As you can see, we're feeling especially patriotic today, and the reason is not just the big soccer win. We've got 2 friends at Captain's Corner, one old friend, one new friend, but you know them better. On your left, Todd Champion. On your right, Curtis Thompson, a.k.a. Firebreaker Chip. Today, we are happy to have the reunion of the WCW Patriots, former NWA US Tag Team Champs. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
We're going to have a good time the next couple hours. As the feed starts getting live, we'll start showing photos. Can we tell a story on how you guys first met?
Well, you want me to start?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so I was originally in the NWA, and I stepped out of the NWA for about a year. I get a call from Dusty a year later and goes, he asked me what I'm doing, and we were chatting, and he goes, hey, I've got an idea for you. Turner Entertainment's bought out the NWA, and we'd like for you to come back and talk about an idea that I have for you. So I said, okay. So I flew into Atlanta, and Curtis flew in, and this first time we ever met. And Dusty presented the WCW Patriots Special Forces idea to us, and sat in front of a bunch of guys, board of directors, and they approved us, and kind of the rest is kind of history.
It is.
Anything else that you remember from that day?
You know, Magnum called me.
Right.
But I was in Charlotte, and I was training at Steamboat's gym.
Right.
So they called my mom and dad's house. How they got my mom and dad's number, I have no idea. My mom called me at Steamboat's gym, said,
Right.
you got some guy call you from WCW out of Atlanta, some Magnum T.A. guy. He wants you to call him.
Right.
I went, holy cow.
Right.
So I left the gym right then. I went home,
Right.
got on the phone, called him, and rest is history.
And then you met.
Then I met you in Atlanta. They flew me down the next day.
Yeah, we met at CNN Towers there.
Yep.
And they presented the what they wanted us to do, and we were all ready to do it. We were ready to get back in the ring and, and tear it up a little bit, and then kind of the rest is history as far as the WCW Patriots go.
Well, we got a bunch of orders. We're going to go through the photos, and maybe you guys can say something about each photo. Reg, can you grab that top photo? So this is our number 1 photo. This is actually our best seller. So when you guys see this photo, what do you think of?
This was right after we got the straps.
That's exactly
And
right.
this was the big promotional picture that they took of us to present on television and do all that stuff. So that's how it all got started right there.
That's a really cool promo photo.
Right.
Check this out. As you can see, the same hat right there, or same exact hat.
Same hat.
We've got the Firebreaker Chip hat right there. Why were you Firebreaker, Curtis, rather than firefighter? Did you?
I don't know.
I thought it was cool. I like
It does work. It sounds more badass. I thought as a kid it was like, oh wow, a super firefighter. You know?
right.
That's what they come up with, and so we just run with it.
Right.
Now this is our number 2 option right here.
Okay. That was another. Remember that one?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That was before I altered my outfit, because I would tear these pants. I'd get in the ring, and I'd tear my pants. I'd have to buy another pair of pants every time. And that's when you see me in some later pictures and later on in the year where we had different colored tights and things. So what I did is I designed my tights so I could wrestle.
Yep.
Basically is what I did. But this was the original attire that they started us out with right there.
So that's the original attire, but is our number 2 photo. What's up, Evan? What's up, George? Our number 3 photo.
Oh, that's what we.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the one. You can see that's the jacket. I have this ring coat still to this day. I've got the camo pads, knee pads. I designed these tights myself, and then I had a lady make them for me. So I drew them out on a piece of paper. So I had, the American Eagle on one, Stars and Stripes on the other, and I had the green tights with the green boots, the blue tights with the red boots with the white tights.
Yep.
So I could mix and match. Remember that?
Yep, I remember that.
So that's as we were graduating into the professional wrestling world, and television was really getting important, and I decided that I needed to modify that stuff a little bit.
And I did too. I modified the pants.
Yeah, and then the strap, you got the suspenders.
Oh yeah, I had the suspenders where you take the suspenders off, but it was hard to get out of those pants because they're canvas like.
Right.
So they're heavy.
Yeah. Oh, they're really
Very
heavy.
Yeah.
Well, I split them all the way up the side and put Velcro.
And then he just
Yeah. There you go.
Take them off. And it was so much simpler and so much easier.
Yeah.
And it was actually kind of fun.
Well, add a new layer to the Firebreaker.
So my arms were too big for my coat, so I had to behind the parts right here. It was Velcro here, so I could take the Velcro and pop them off and get that jacket off quicker.
That's our number 3 option, guys. Number 3. Number 4, another great action shot with the U.S. Tag Team Championships.
Oh, yeah.
On their way to the ring.
We're on our way to the ring there.
Yeah, we just won the titles, and it looks like this might have been a pay-per-view.
Is that one of the favorite?
That might have been, or a TV taping.
Might be like a Halloween Havoc or one of those.
Yeah, we were fresh off just winning the titles on that one, so.
That's our number 4 option, and we got one more team option, guys. This is a great shot. This actually might be my favorite of them all because the red and the blue is going to pop.
You know what? That's probably my favorite.
That right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one too. That was another one of their promotional ones that we did, and it turns out really well.
Now we do have solo photos of each of the guests that we'll show very shortly. Let's go back to what you were saying about the event, Todd.
About the soccer team?
Yeah.
Well, it was nice to see, how, people all around the world are coming to this country and they're really finding out what America's all about and the diversity of America and the wide open spaces and how big the country is and how beautiful this country is. And I think, last night, SoFi Stadium, when they beat, what was the country?
Paraguay.
Paraguay 4-1. I don't watch soccer normally, but I turned it on and I couldn't turn it off. It was such a good game.
The crowd was on fire.
Crowd
The
was
team was playing
fantastic.
so good. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, they were fantastic.
Definitely a good game for our country. As Curtis signs this first one, we'll actually kind of go over the interview that was with Curtis on the back. And so we'll start off. Your favorite wrestling hole, Curtis. Check that out. It looks great. Couple of these available to claim, guys. Favorite wrestling hole, power slam.
The power slam.
Okay.
And why that's my favorite move?
Please.
The very first time I won on TV was a power slam. And I really haven't done a power slam before. And so here we go. But I hurt the guy.
Oh, no.
Oh, I knocked the breath out of him.
Really?
Oh.
Who was the gentleman? Who was the gentleman? Can we... oh, you don't even
Bob
remember his
Riddle.
name. Oh, okay.
Bob Riddle, I believe it was.
Sorry, Bob.
I told him I'm sorry 100 times. But I got excited, and I drove him through the mat.
It's all right.
So Bob can verify that your favorite hold is indeed the power slam.
Oh, and definitely.
It was just a flesh wound anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's still up,
It
right?
just knocked the breath out.
Yeah.
Now, favorite old-time wrestler, Nelson Royal.
Oh, Nelson Royal and Gene Anderson.
Yeah.
Let me put both those together.
They helped train you, right?
That's exactly where I went to camp at. They both trained me.
Nelson trained me. I was the original guy. There was a ring in a barn, right?
Yeah, it's still there.
And I met Nelson, and that's how my career got started. I trained with Nelson for almost a year before I met Dusty and before I started going into the dark match.
And that was before there was like a school, like you said. So were you the only guy training at that time, Todd, with Nelson?
So Nelson and Gene Anderson.
Yep.
Gene Anderson was in there, roughing me up, but I tell you what, that was probably some of the best experience as far as just in ring, knowing how to do things, taking one hold and being able to do it 45 different ways.
Sure.
Yep.
So he taught me that, and he taught you that as well. And we miss Nelson. He's gone now, but he was a great guy.
You said the store has is still here?
It's still there.
Wow, that's very cool.
The barn's gone. The ring's gone. It's a car dealership now.
Well, the memories of that school through you guys and through some other guys we work with, I know that still stands. Now, your toughest opponent, check this out, Brian, as requested. Your first card. Thank you, Curtis. Your toughest opponent, the Road Warriors.
Well, that goes without saying. They're the biggest guys in the company.
Were you there? Were either of you guys there? Because you guys both spend time with them. There's stories of people seeing that, they were working the Road Warriors that night and either getting stressed out or trying to leave and stuff like that. Did you ever see either of that?
No. No.
I was 310 pounds back then.
Yeah.
Okay, so size-wise, you were
bigger than both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were bigger than me, but I was about 250 then.
Yeah. So yeah, you were guys like, okay, it's just going to be a harder night at the office.
But they were
great
really
guys.
good guys.
Yeah,
they were great guys.
Super.
Now,
Super.
we got another one coming up. We're going to get this in that same pen. If we could, Curtis, thank you very much. And then we'll continue with the next part on the card after we get that done. Favorite pro sports team?
Probably the Washington Redskins.
Ding, ding, ding.
What are they, Commanders now, though? Aren't
Yeah, they are.
Commanders now.
They
Yeah,
are.
you're right.
Yeah, that's a retro,
Yeah.
mention.
Old school.
Yeah.
Okay, so far they're kind of on point. Ricky and Tommy Angel were saying same thing that they kind of really might have been an interview.
I remember when Ricky and Tommy came in to work out with Nelson, and they had me work out with those guys. So they would have a group of guys come in.
But they were so much smaller than you.
I know. But they would have a group of guys come in. There'd be 20 of them trying out,
Oh yeah.
and they'd have me like stretch a couple of them, and one big biker dude, and I remember him. He was like 6'9".
He quit.
He quit
He
after I was
quit.
done.
He
Yeah.
quit.
Wow.
He walked off.
Could do it.
But he had his biker boots on. I was there.
Oh yeah, and I got in the ring with him, and we ran him, and I got him in a hole, and rode him till he couldn't even get up.
Yeah.
But that's how you find out who the men are, who's gonna actually tough it out, because our sport is so physical,
Yeah.
and it's not a thing that's done like a season, like your football season.
No,
or
all year
it's
round. There's no
year-round.
off season.
Your
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
your body takes such a toll. The beating of just falling and doing the thing, and it's so stressful on your body. So you gotta have a different mindset to get in that kind of business.
You do.
At least when we were there.
Yeah. I remember the tryout. There were 60 of us there at the tryout,
It was 61.
and they only kept 4 of us.
Didn't they run y'all into that pasture?
Oh, Mark.
Nelson Royal had a pasture.
And
It
the
was
weeds were over your head.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was like 2-mile run. You had to do that was before you started working
Yeah.
out. So take off, and man, they'd take off and just disappear. And then all of a sudden you'd see stragglers, guys, coming and barely getting back 2 miles, and after that they'd have to do 500 squats
500 free
God.
squats.
and then wrestle.
Yep.
Oh my God, your legs had to be jello at
Well,
that point.
it, like I said, either you hung in there and you made it, or you did. That's the way it was.
Those days of trying out were something else, wasn't they? Holy cow.
Yeah, only the strong survive, right? It's like
It's very, very well.
it's like a boot camp,
It
right?
was.
Yeah.
When I went to Nelson's, it was just me and him. There wasn't nobody else in there. And dead of winter, no heat in the barn, and the mat was frozen.
Oh my God.
And so I would fall on that mat. And then in the summertime, like it is right now, it's 90 outside. It's 190 in the barn.
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Color Family, check that out. Boom. We got a little throwback here, Todd. We got to get you on.
Uh-oh. Do me do this one first or that?
We'll do this one right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, look at that.
So if we could.
Holy smokes.
What's that? Is that a mustache?
Oh yeah. Todd, if we could get a Todd Champion right there, we'll show everyone that's we could use this one right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow.
Crockett Cup 1987.
Wow. Look at this. Tijo Khan, Shaska. Look at this.
Oh yeah, check the roster. You can.
Ricky Leeds, Italian Stallion. Nelson. There's Nelson right there.
Yep.
Mike Graham. Wow. Where did you find this?
This is old school, and we got all the teams. So
Look at
we
that.
got
Where did you find
Gene
it?
Lincoln. Look, there's Gene Lincoln there.
Oh, my goodness.
Thunderfoot.
yeah, Joel Deaton.
Uh-huh.
Wahoo and Barron, the fabulous ones.
Jimmy
Garvin,
Garvin, gorgeous
yep.
Jimmy Garvin. Bob and Brad Armstrong. Look at that. Kansas Jayhawks. Lasertron. Wow. Boogie Woogie.
Yeah, look at the Crockett Cups are so stacked with all the different tag teams back then.
That is-
That's 87. Yeah.
Lasertron was around 87.
Yeah.
There's Ivan, Uncle Ivan.
The
There's
Mod Squad, who you have. We'll have to talk about your run with them in Kansas City.
Absolutely.
Tully Lex, yeah.
There's 4 horsemen. There's Tully, Lex. Look at that. Look at that.
John Bubba.
Giant Bob. I wrestled with Giant Bob.
Yeah, you had tour all Japan, right?
Yeah, Me and Terry Gordy were tag team.
Really?
Yeah, we tagged in those
That's
matches.
2 big guys.
Rock and Roll Express, Road Warriors. There they are. There's our guys. Look at that. Wow, Dusty and I. And look at that.
I can't believe it.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, those
Where did you find
they're old school. It's hard to get the old school programs, but people do get them. And the cool thing, if you could sign them one time, to anyone in the Florida area, we've got downtown Denny Brown, who was Todd's partner in the tournament. In October, our next Impossible Last Glory Days Grapple Con, we're running right outside Tampa in Lutz. So if anyone wants anything through Denny Brown, I wish I was able to get this blown up, that promo phone. I wish. That would have been great.
Yeah.
But you guys have memories of Denny Brown? He's someone that...
Denny and I worked together a lot together.
Yeah.
We were on a lot of cards together.
That was before I got there.
That was pre Curtis, yeah.
Yeah, so... You like my mustache, honey?
Well, we got another one coming up.
Holy smokes.
Now, people still talk so fondly. You guys are... Well, of course, together in WCW, but Jim Crockett Promotions, right? There isn't a WCW without Jim Crockett.
Right.
What are your memories of, 86, 87, 88, when you guys are with Crockett? And Crockett's just as hot as Vince and a lot of that time. You guys are selling out everywhere. Some memories.
I was pretty new to the business, so... But just about every big house show that we did, I was on the house show. And I was either the first or second match, third match sometimes. Mm-hmm. But what I would do is I would hang around after my match, take a shower, and I'd watch like Ric Flairs and the Arn Andersons and Rock and Roll Express guys and Boogie Woogie Man and all those cats, And you watch those veterans that are out there doing their thing and how they just what's the word I'm looking for?
Charisma.
The charisma that they had, right? The charisma that they had, and they knew how to play to the crowd.
They do. They had that ring authority.
Yeah, and the thing is they gave the people exactly what they wanted.
Oh yeah.
They gave the people exactly what they wanted, and so I tried to emulate those guys and say, I've got to do what I need to do to make the match a match that people want to come back and see me wrestle against.
Yeah.
I watched the pros, even though I was in professional wrestling, but I watched the guys that have been in the business, seasoned veterans, watch Dusty and Flair go at it, a bazillion times.
That's like the doctorate level, right? You're getting your masters.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you watch like the Rock and Roll Express against the Midnight Express. Talk about some matches. Man, those guys, and they could go and go and go for an hour. You got your money's worth. When that card was done with, you got your money's worth from all that.
And what about you, Chris?
It's the same thing, When I first started, you're lucky enough to break into the business, and they take good care of you, and you get to watch everybody before you.
Right.
And I don't want to say you want to steal from them, but you want to see that you want to be that good. You want to be as good as the people in front of you.
Right.
And that way, the people that behind you, they have something to follow. After you get through the match, you walk out of the ring and say, well, follow that.
Right.
Right.
And the thing is when you're watching the main events and things and your first, second, third match, whatever you are, I always wanted feedback from those guys when I was done. I want to say, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? How was that match? And when they would give me the thumbs up and said, man, you did a great job, that made me feel good. And Dusty would always critique me and say, come here, kid, I want to tell you, do this next time, do that. You did a great job tonight. Keep going.
Yep.
So I wanted the help, and I wasn't afraid to ask for it, because that's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
That's how you learn.
Someone was just telling me the other day, that's the problem now, right? Is that if you critique people too hard, maybe with this generation,
well,
you can't, the way you could.
They might cry and go into the safe space.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking to off camera with one of the boys, how, the locker rooms today, the way that, you guys were talked to, it was coming from a place where you can learn and love, and it was helpful, but may not have been like, sit down, and like, kind of kissing your ass first. And today that might not be.
Oh no, they just told it just like it.
Yeah.
If you messed up, you messed up.
Yeah.
Now,
stuck it up out there tonight, kid.
Yeah.
Don't do it again.
Starting up with Todd. Speaking of starting up, who started most of the matches you guys had together during the tag run? Would you take turns?
I thought we kind of took turns sometimes, but we kind of get when you're in a tag match.
It all depends on what's going to happen.
Well, yes,
right, and who and you he, I did a lot of power moves. He was the fancy guy, as far as wrestling goes, and we even got to the point where when we were wrestling the Young Guns on TV, and you'd crawl the top rope, and I'd go to the corner and throw you off the top rope. I'd get him and throw him off the top rope, and he'd do a power dive on somebody. We'd come up with different things.
Yeah.
It just would come to us over time. You develop that rapport,
Sure, spending all that time in the ring together, right? It's like,
Oh yeah.
And the flying backwards elbow was what Dusty wanted me to do. So
And it worked.
because Curtis would shoot the guy off the ropes
And drop down.
toe hold, and the guy see me. I'm already in the air. He looks up, and my elbow's right in his kisser.
perfect timing,
worked
right?
really-
Yeah.
It worked really good.
Yeah, it did.
It seems like you're starting the match with the card. And
It always did.
clean
It
up.
always did. It works like it.
That makes a good team, right?
It does. You just fall right back into the way it was.
Well, do you guys remember, because I know you've been talking recently, but the last match you guys had, or the last time you had really seen each other in person? Because I know today's the first time in person in
it's been
years.
30 years. Has it been that long?
It has been 30 years.
That is.
Yeah, because you don't have hair anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
And it was thin.
check it out.
But we got a lot of great memories, man. I wouldn't trade them for the world.
Absolutely.
Well, do you know? So this year's actually the 35th anniversary of
Is it?
your tag title run.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That long ago?
1991 to 92. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
September, right? When they won the belt in September, they lost.
I don't know, but it was 91 for sure.
Y'all kept them for like almost 3 months.
3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Well, and then the problem too with WCW, they were taping stuff and then airing it a month later, right?
Yeah. Towards the end of the company's tenure, it got really kind of crazy, and
Is that for-
nobody really knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And then AOL bought Turner out,
Yeah.
and they decided, well, we don't want to, wrestling's not part of our program. I bet they're looking at it now, going, boy, I wish we'd have kept it.
Right. Yeah. You ain't kidding.
I'll put my name in it.
See, now you guys are coming up with different spots. Like, hey, it's like I'll do it this way so you can. Yeah.
It's funny how it works. It'd be funny, you'd be in a ring and the other one don't know what the other one's thinking.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's good tag teams, right? You start
Yeah.
thinking like each other in some ways.
Well, and it flows better, and you're more uniformed. It's, and that comes with time.
Yeah, it does.
Best wishes from Todd and Chip. Now, another tag team we have, just brought up briefly, you and Dave Peterson. You guys.
We were the Central States tag team.
You were together in Crockett, right? And then, or was he not there?
He
and
was
then,
not there. He was in
Okay.
Kansas City.
So they brought
took
you
us-
over, yeah.
Yeah, so there was about 8 or 9 of us that they sent to Kansas City. They bought that territory out when it was Central States.
Oh, okay.
And they bought the territory out. This is a funny story. So they brought me in, Sam Houston, a bunch of other guys, and so we came in and we worked the territory.
Sure.
And then we ended up beating Bulldog Bob Brown and I think it was Pork Chop
Okay.
for the tag team titles, for the Central States tag team titles. So then we carried those straps, and then they'd have the bigger house shows with the bigger tapings in Kansas City. That's when Dusty and Flair and all this.
Yeah, all the major Crockett guys are coming in
They
now,
would come
right?
in for that, and so they bought the territory out from Bob Geigel, and he was the promoter back then. And for some reason, that territory the big house shows did great.
Mhm.
The small house shows were terrible. And I don't know if it was promotion wise, advertising, who knows. But after about 6 or 8 months, they pulled us all back to Charlotte. Because they were dumping a lot of money into that place to try to get it going with the television and the camera crew.
Well, yeah, because they were using the Crockett production,
Yes.
right? Yeah, so it
Yes.
wasn't just like the Kansas City production
Right,
team.
right.
There was the Crockett stuff. They were shooting all the stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So they were dumping a lot of money, and the return on it wasn't quite there yet. So after about 6 or 8 months of living in Kansas City, and it was freezing cold, and Boogie Woogie Man was with me the whole time. I can tell you some stories about that later.
Oh, you were driving him around and stuff, right?
He would ride with me because he didn't want to drive.
Yeah, I remember you told me that.
And he'd always fall asleep while I was driving. I'd be talking. I look over. He's like, passed out.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got a flat tire one time in the middle of nowhere in Kansas. I don't know where I was. So I'm out there going, hey, Boogie, I need you to help me change this tire. He goes, okay, I'll be right out. So by the time I got the tire out, the jack out, and I had it jacked up, he's just standing there, I think you got it.
Yeah, he was like that. He was,
So
what a great guy, but he was
great. He was hilarious, but that was a lot of fun.
And they were, I heard those trips are hard. Gene Ligon was there as one of the Thunderfoot.
Yes.
He was saying, we had him on recently, about how hard those trips were.
Yes, they were 400 miles one way. One way. And then you come back 400 miles and then 100 miles past that to the next one.
And it's not like now where it's these nice like interstates, right, that are built up with rest stops and gas stations.
I had
You get one of them little maps.
I had a big Mercury 4-door, maroon Mercury.
Everybody piled in.
Yeah, and we just loaded up and go and point me in the right direction.
What are your memories when they told you the territory was closing down? Now you're coming back to the Carolinas, Todd.
When Kansas City?
Kansas City closed down.
They just told us. Well, I called him and I said, Dusty, and I called and I said, there's nobody here. He goes, what do you mean? I said, we're here and there's nobody here. And that went on, and he said, well, just every week I want you to report to me, tell me what's going on.
So you were an inside guy. Yeah.
So I would call him and he said, how'd this one go? It was better than the last one, but not much. Then we get to another town and they didn't even know we were there.
Oh no.
And where's so-and-so building? Where are the wrestling matches tonight? Well, wrestling matches, and that got to be over time. In the beginning, it wasn't like that. And then over time, and I don't know if it was a rift between, Bob Geigel and, him trying to undermine Jim Crockett, which I think it was a business thing that was going on. And so after a while, they told us, they said, after this match tonight, you guys get your stuff. We're going to send you airline tickets. You guys come back to Charlotte.
Well, the good thing is that they didn't ask you to drive back, right?
That was rough. It was rough.
Talk about your early days now, Curtis. When you started in Jim Crockett
I
promotion,
started
right?
in Crockett promotion. And Dusty called me in his office, and he asked me, he said, Curtis, I like what we see in you. I need you to leave this territory, learn how to work a little bit better, and I'll bring you back and I'll make you a superstar. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I really didn't know any other territories, because I just started. And I asked Tully Blanchard, I said, where's another territory I can go? He said, I'll take care of it for you, Curtis. And I went, wow. So he called Carlos Colon in Puerto Rico, and he called me back. He said, Carlos Colon's going to call you. He's going to give you a shot out there. So Carlos Colon called me the next day. We talked on the phone. He said, I'll have you a plane ticket at the airport, ready to come down. We'll see you tomorrow. I went, what? I said, I can't go like that. I said, never mind, I can't. So then I went to Puerto Rico. I got off the plane. They met me there, and they put me under a mask as the White Angel. And I wrestled with Chicky Star, and if I had my way, I would still be in Puerto Rico. It was such a nice place. There was great workers. And I just had a great time.
Easy travel too, right? Well, I heard the guys are on the beach drinking till like 4 if they wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's an island, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
You didn't get the riots like all the other wrestlers talked about?
no. Listen, it was so good. I did get hit with a piece of angle iron. We was in Balmont in a baseball stadium, and the ring was set over top of the pitching mount. Somebody threw a piece of iron, angle iron, and he hit me in the head through the mask. And I still got the knot, but I still got the piece of angle iron too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I kept it, but
You say you still have that somewhere at home?
yeah, I got it. But it was Puerto Rico was so nice, and then I was a heel when I first went, and then I turned to a baby face and I took the mask off. And that's when it really happened. I was doing TV commercials. I was singing on TV, and I can't speak a lick of Spanish. But, they were dubbing it in and doing commercials and just a lot of PR. And it was so much fun out there. If I had my way, I'd still be there. Yeah, it was great. But then you left there and then went to Calgary and worked for the Hearts, and left Calgary, went to Portland, left Portland, come back to South Atlantic, and then went to WCW.
You got every climate imaginable in that. You just said
really-
Puerto Rico to Canada to Portland.
I left Puerto Rico, and it was 90 degrees, and I was in shorts and a tank top. I got to Calgary. I flew from I was dumber than a box of rocks. I wasn't even thinking about how cold it'd be in Canada. When I got off the plane in Canada, it was snow on the ground. I said, boys, you got to take me to the mall. I went and bought a bunch of clothes right then.
Yeah.
But I love Calgary. It was great. You know, you work with Owen Hart, you know.
Some of the best of the best.
Yeah.
So how was Don Owens?
Huh? Don's a great guy. But Lynn Denton was the booker.
Grappler, yeah.
Okay.
So Don owned the company, and
Right.
Lynn Denton was the booker.
Okay.
And Lenny was great. I mean, he had a great mind and a great eye. But the person that I like best out there, you'll never believe it. And he taught me more about what's
Dave Sierra,
the Spanish guy's name?
Al Madrill.
Al Madrill. He taught me more in the ring than anybody I've ever worked with. I mean, he could call a match and just he'd lead you right through it. But he was a great guy and laughed the whole time.
Did you go on any of those? I hear about all the trips, Curtis, where you're driving over, because Canada, I guess they don't have all developed roads, right? They're driving on ice, right?
Driving on dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go in the Northwest Territory somewhere. I mean, it was crazy, but it was really fun. I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
But yeah, the worst part about working in Canada with the boys was the ribs. Oh, they play so many jokes on each other. But you know what? You live and learn.
Right.
So the next one says favorite college sports team. I'll let you answer. Favorite college sports team, Curtis.
Favorite college sports team? Oh, North Carolina.
So they have the Valdosta State Blazers.
That's where I went to college.
Okay, so that makes
Blazers,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
Blazers.
Yeah.
Favorite vacation spot?
Now or
Well, then.
Myrtle Beach?
Cancun, Mexico.
Cancun, Mexico.
So now we're starting to get a little cold. Their answers are now got you up.
I'm getting way cold.
Yeah, we were on fire though. 4 or 5 in a row. It was spot on. You were talking off camera. I think we were off camera. We might have been on camera about the special forces actually, because that was the most interesting thing. I think that you guys were. Where they say you were hailing from the WCW Special Forces, they announced that you were part of the Special Forces, the Patriots within that. Todd brought up Astronaut, postal delivery worker. Did you ever hear any names that it could have been? Or
They never did tell us.
Well, Magnum brought out, he asked me, he said, how about being an astronaut? He asked me to be it.
oh, really?
And I said, how am I going to wear them boots in the ring?
Right.
Or how am I going to put that? They had the whole really gimmick.
Yeah, the Astronaut.
And he said, how about Firebreaker? I said,
Oh,
I've always wanted to be a fireman. So I said, I'll do that.
oh, so you had a choice.
Yeah, I had a choice. I
Oh.
had a choice.
I'm not gonna lie. The Astronaut with Captain America would have been an interesting fit. I think the firefighter
It worked out
better.
good because
Yeah.
you do like fire safety tips for WCW.
Yeah.
Stop, drop, and
And
roll,
roll.
and all that stuff. Yeah, I remember that. He would do those. I'd be laughing. They
Sure.
just
Fire safety tip for today.
don't play with matches.
Don't play with matches, definitely.
Now, what would it have been that the chip, was that your idea, the name, or the Firebreaker Curtis wouldn't have worked, or
You know what? I think it was Magnum's.
Okay.
I think Magnum come up with that.
Right. I think so. And it had a better fit
Yeah.
to what they were trying to accomplish. So
coming up, we got this one. The U.S. mail always delivers. 'Cause
we could see that.
we could do that in black.
That's when I come back from Portland. This is the South Atlantic. This is when I wrestled.
Oh, is
South
that?
Atlantic. Yeah, this is South Atlantic, and I wrestled for South Atlantic.
Let's.
You had Ken Shamrock there. You had Vince. That's
Chris Chavis, right?
Chris
yeah.
Chavis.
Yeah.
Me.
Manny Fernandez.
The Stud Stable.
Yeah. It was a stacked lineup.
It was a really.
Were you there when Ricky Steamboat was initially there?
Yep, he was there too. He was at the very beginning too.
It was almost like Crockett guys and then
Was
other
exactly-
talent. Yeah,
It
kind
was
of.
exactly that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really going to take off, but it did pretty good. But right in the middle of it, it's when WCW called me. Magnum called, and I you got to jump ship to go to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah,
that's
Well, you're
heaven
talking.
sent.
Well, you're talking guaranteed money, big
Yeah.
contracts,
Yeah.
and all that. So you got to make a living, and take care of yourself.
U.S. Mail always delivers. And now we're getting the other half, Firebreaker Chip. Did you prefer Firebreaker Chip or Chip the Firebreaker?
Either one was good. You know what? I didn't have a preference. I've been called a lot worse.
I know you guys have both talked about it off air, and I know you, our good friend Jimmy Street had you. I'll give you back by Pro Wrestling. Fantastic interview. The Freebirds, they did the honors for you guys. One of the legendary tag teams in professional wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jimmy Garvin, Michael Hayes.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that when you're in a program with that? Both guys, you guys aren't wet behind the ears at all, but these guys, 12, 13, 14, 15-year pros at that point.
Right.
Can you talk about your time with the Freebirds?
Well, it was a learning experience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Especially when they had to drop the titles to us. They did a great job of just kind of navigating the waters with us because we had no idea we were getting the straps. That
No.
night. We should.
Really?
No, they didn't tell us.
That night? Yeah, that night.
That night.
We got there just thinking we were going to have our normal tag match on
Yeah.
television, and next thing you know, they're pulling us off into a corner, going, "Okay, here's what we're doing. You're getting the straps tonight." And we just looked at each other
Like what?
"Are you sure? Are you sure?" They said, "Yeah." And then the Freebirds came in, and well, that was in Greenville, South Carolina.
I believe it was.
Yeah. And so that night, when they told us we were getting the straps, and they dropped the straps to us that night.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. But them guys are so good, though.
Yeah, I mean, you're working with, like
Yeah.
you said, pros,
Yeah.
and it wasn't going to hurt them at all.
So you guys didn't see the push coming like that?
No.
I had no idea.
No.
But what was happened is our first match with the Ring Lords, we'd never wrestled together as a tag team at that point. So we just kind of got a game plan in our head, and we went out there, and it just worked.
Yeah.
It worked so well that I'm pretty sure marketing guys are going,
Yeah, we have something here.
we got something.
Yeah.
And so, the next couple of months, we were busy signing autographs, not really wrestling that much. Remember, they'd send us the malls, and
Just sign on.
and it was this easiest gig we ever had.
Yeah,
Get paid.
it didn't pay for it.
And then show up on television, do our matches on TV,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, they're dropping the straps to us and putting the straps on us.
Yeah.
So, that's
It
just how they did.
was a great thing for us, but it was all of a sudden.
Yeah, they didn't tell us
They wasn't
warn
no-
us or say,
yeah.
"Hey, this is what we're doing." They just told us that day.
Wow, it's amazing how that, because, years later, you hear everything's formatted sometimes weeks in advance, right? And
Right.
at that time, it's still, hey, we're doing this now. We're doing this
Well,
tonight.
it was more spontaneous,
Yeah.
and so the matches were spontaneous. There wasn't, you do this and I'll do that. You do this and I'll do that. It was like basically, we're gonna get out there, have a match, and go from there.
Go for the float.
And you listen to the crowd.
Yeah. Oh, the crowd led everything.
Right.
Now, a unique thing for that time, especially in WCW, you guys really stood out because you had these unique looks, unique
Right.
characters.
Right.
I know, obviously, it was a WCW. Reggie, if you could check out Brian's card. I'm in the process of getting some paint off my hand, guys, so Reg is helping out right now. But did you ever think Titan, like with the gimmick you guys had, the look you guys had? I know you were both WCW guys, but did you ever think, hey, what would they have done with? Because it was a built-in. You guys,
Right. I think it would have been an excellent gimmick for us if we went on up there and did that, but it just wasn't in the cards.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it wasn't the right time. Sometimes timing is everything. Your right place, right time, things like that. And I think at that time, things were still kind of, WCW, WWF at the time were competing.
Yeah, they were
They-
at odds against each other.
Yeah. So I think that we were probably too recognizable, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We're probably too recognizable, and so it would have probably been a legal thing.
oh, as like WCW.
Yeah, the likeness and the image, So
Now, we had a question earlier, and that you guys had brought up Stevie Armstrong, Tracy Smothers, another tag team that you guys had a program with during the tech. What are your memories of those two?
Oh man, loved working with them because they were so easy.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, we had a lot of fun working with those guys.
Yep.
The young guns, I guess they call them.
Yep.
And-
Young pistol.
Young Pistols, yeah.
yeah, young
They
pistols.
were just super great
They're,
guys.
they're great workers, great guys. You know, they've got their, you know, dad, brothers, everybody's in the business,
The whole family.
the whole family.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it was a night off really working with them. I didn't have to worry about anything,
No, you not have to worry about getting hurt. Didn't have to
Yeah.
worry about anything.
nothing.
They
And you could go
it was all
fast.
smooth.
Yeah, you could go fast, and
Yeah.
we could do just about anything we want.
Now, Curtis, you guys both brought up Magnum being involved in your careers, you know, calling you guys kind of being a mentor. He was in the WCW office at that point. Can you guys maybe speak for a bit? We worked with Terry before. Great guy. One of those, what a big star he was, and what he could have been an even bigger star had that tragedy
Oh, yeah.
not happened.
Correct, yeah.
But can you talk about memories of Magnum the person, or even, you know, being around him in the ring, Todd?
Well, you know, I met Magnum in the NWA stuff, and that's how I knew Terry. And Terry is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in the world. Will help you, will coach you up. He was always very positive, and you know, he was a guy. If he hadn't had that car accident,
Oh,
the Porsche when he wrecked the Porsche,
yeah.
I went to the hospital to see him actually when he was in the hospital.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was.
He's in traction, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so, but he was on his way to being a world champion, and probably, this is just my opinion of the business, is I think he could have been, you know, right up there with Ric Flair
Of course you could.
and Hulk Hogan,
Yeah, easy.
you know,
Easy.
because he had that look, he had that charisma.
Yeah.
You know, he could wrestle his tail off, and he was generally a fan favorite.
Oh,
So-
he was a great guy.
Yeah.
The first time I ever met him was at Gold's Gym.
Right.
But and I was fresh out of college.
Right.
And he was in there training, and I'm like, wow.
Right.
Well, that's when Rick, Tully, and Arn, and I mean all the boys.
Yeah.
They all trained at the gym.
Right.
That's the first time I ever met him. He was so nice to me.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he was a great guy.
And he, to this day, super duper nice. So, and he's going to be at the gathering too.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
So,
great.
Good chance to see him again.
My friend Jimmy Street wants to know, can we ask, I'm not sure which one he was directed at, but ask him about Boogie wanted him to be a son-in-law.
Oh, that was me.
Oh, is that you, Todd?
You didn't know that?
No,
I didn't know that story either. I was like, I don't remember Curtis
How
talking
did
about
this guy know about this?
This you've actually he's interviewed you before in the past. Our good friend Jimmy Street, you were on a show
Okay.
a few years back. Curtis was on the last month promoting signing, but he brought that up, so it popped me because I didn't know.
Oh.
Now Curtis is like, why couldn't I have been the son-in-law?
No. I love it.
Let's hear it, Todd.
So the story goes. So anyway,
I want to hear this one.
we were playing a celebrity softball game, and before the celebrity ball game, Boogie would come up to me because I was single at the time. He goes, "Man, I want you to meet my daughter."
Okay.
And I said, "Well, I don't know about the daughter and everything."
She's good looking.
So anyway, he kept bugging me, and then we're at the celebrity softball game. He goes, "Hey, my daughter's here. She's in the crowd. I want you to meet her when we're." And I just got engaged to my first wife,
Oh, jeez.
and she was beautiful. And anyway, it didn't happen. But beautiful girl. I'm sure she's beautiful today. But Boogie was on me. I don't know why he wanted me to be his son-in-law so bad. But he was after me every day. Hey, brother, you really need to meet her. You would go, you know how Boogie.
Yeah, bro.
He wanted to bring you in the family.
Yeah, I guess so, man. But it was funny. But she was a nice girl. But I was just gotten engaged, so I really couldn't do it.
You talked about All Japan. You spent time with Terry Gordy. What was it like, that Japanese style, Todd? A little different from what they got. Well, yeah.
A lot different.
You could say a lot. Yeah, I guess a lot different than what you had here going on. Talk about that physical style and adapting to it.
Well, it was a lot. It was almost a shoot every match. in
Really?
Japan, yes.
I never went.
Well, first of all, they didn't speak English. And so me and Terry had already been to Japan several times. And so he kind of coached me up a little bit. And we get in the ring, and I can't remember, and we locked up with one of the Japanese guys and one of their stars, and we're having a match, and he backs me into the corner, and all of a sudden he steps back and starts roundhouse kicking me and laying on. I mean, he was hitting me like this, and And I realized he's kicking me. He's hurting me. So I dropped my hands down to protect my ribs.
You went up high.
Oh no, let me tell you what happened. So he kept kicking me. I'm in the ring. I'm looking at Terry. Terry went, just punch him. I said, just hit him. He goes, yeah. So as he's kicking me like this, I just grabbed him and I went, boom, and I punched him. He falls backwards. And I said, you want to wrestle or you want to fight? And from then on, we wrestled.
He had to get stiff.
But that was fine. I mean, it was okay, but I just did. He was just laying those kicks in like he was trying to knock me out.
Yeah, well, they were all trying to knock you out.
Well, they were testing us.
Yeah, they were. That's a big test.
And so after
you passed it.
I passed. And so after
You're
that,
a big boy to try. But you're a big boy now, but you're a big boy back then for him to try.
So I said, you know what? But we whatever they threw at us, we'd throw back at them. And then the last, towards the end of that tour, I had to wrestle Bob. John Bob.
You wrestled John Bob?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
He was wonderful. He's a great guy. Nice guy.
He wasn't trying anybody. The boss wasn't trying anybody, right?
No, he was a piece of cake. He was easy. He had the big karate chop
Oh, yeah.
on the head and all that. But Japan was an experience. I lost 15 pounds and I was eating every day. I couldn't gain weight. I was losing weight, eating everything.
Oh,
I could. But anyway, but Terry Gordy, God rest his soul, was a good coach. He coached me up a little bit. He back me, hey, you know how Terry was, talk like this. And so he'd go, hey boy, just go in there and be stiff, just be stiff. I said, okay, I'll be stiff. I can do that. That's easy.
that was the easiest part.
That was the easiest part. So, but anyway, that's how that went down.
We got a card coming up, and we'll do it in.
You got that.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Todd. Was there any of the old timers that when you broke in that tried you here in the States or kind of difficult?
No, not really.
Okay.
I was fortunate. I wanted to get along with everybody. I didn't want to piss anybody off.
Yeah.
So, but the old timers, they would, some of the guys would just, they'd say, just listen to me, and then some of them would say, do this, do that, and I was green then, so, and they knew it, so they would work with me. They worked with what I could do.
Yep.
And that's the sign of a good pro.
Yes, sir.
And they knew he can do this, can't do that, but so they would work with me, and no, so I had a great time with just about everybody, so it wasn't an issue at all, not at all.
What about you, Curtis? Anyone kind of try to take any liberties?
No, no, not really. No.
Because at the end of the day, we're all there to work.
Yeah, we're all there to make money and work.
And put on the best show we can possibly put on for the fans. So, and they know that too. So, nobody was trying to really.
I mean, every now and then you get a stiff kick or a tater, but it's really an accident 99% of the time.
Right.
Was there any particularly rough accident that you got caught with a rang under your belt where you're like, whoa?
No, but remember we wrestled Vader and Rick Rude?
Oh,
tag match?
yeah. Remember,
Vader and Rick Rude.
Remember when I told you?
Vader went at it.
Well,
and Rick Rude went at it. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, I told you that I was going to try to knock Vader off his feet.
Oh, that's right.
And so they threw me in the corner. You run up the rope, and I dove back at him, and I dove at him as hard like a missile at him, and he caught me. Boom! And he went, oh. I got you, Curtis. You tried to knock me off my feet. And then he went like this. Boom! When he drove me through the mat. I swear, I think I hit the concrete.
He was a hell of a football player, Todd, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Strong.
Great athlete. He's doing moonsaults and
he was great. But I laid there.
And I'm you know what? I'm okay with him being stiff because I can be stiff too. Mm-hmm. And he was stiff. I was stiff. We all were stiff, and it was a great match. It was a very physical match. It wasn't a match for the lighthearted.
Now you brought up Rude. There's a clip going on. I'm not sure if it's Mark Starr, but there's an enhancement talent that did something like wrong to Rude in the match, and Rude just one-shotted him in the middle of the match. It was a very live round. I'll find the clip and show it to you.
Right.
Rude had a reputation, be a tough guy, be very talented in the ring. Did you guys enjoy your time?
Absolutely.
He was always so good to me.
Yeah, Rick. One time he got mad at me for something. I don't even know what it was. And he's like, "Oh," and I go, "Oh." We both did that. we both, paired up, and then he realized, okay, he
Calm down.
Yeah.
Two bulls calming down there. Yeah.
We're professional. We got to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he was a good guy.
He was excellent guy.
Can you talk about when there wasn't really a breakup with you guys,
No.
but at some point you kind of started working heel on TV, right?
Well,
They started us out. All of a sudden, we were doing singles matches
Yeah.
because that's when WCW was doing all different kinds. You didn't know when you walked into the arena what you were going to do, or you're going to do. And then all of a sudden, one day they just decided, singles matches.
Yeah.
We were having singles matches. I worked, Larry Zbyszko and all those guys, and he did the same, and he was doing a lot of single stuff too. And then there was a match on the other day that was on the internet. It was me and Stunning Steve Austin.
okay,
The
yeah,
TV titles
yeah.
there, and I wrestled him twice. I wrestled him in September, and then I wrestled him in November. Both times, and then Dustin Rhodes had just come in, and he was commentating.
Mhm.
And then I had Stunning Steve on the ropes. I hit him with the backwards elbow to cover him. His valet came in, gave him the knuckles, and then he rolled me over. And then Dustin came in, and then that set their deal up for their match.
Why do you think there wasn't like a turn with you guys? Because I mean, if you think
I would have loved it. I'd much rather be a heel. I mean, really, it's so much more fun. I mean, it really is. And you can, you play to the crowd, and it was just so much more fun. I would have loved for them to turn both of us, or turn us against each other.
Yeah, that was what I would think. As far as the storyline goes.
Right. Oh, we could have run that. We could have run that for years.
Yeah, him turning heel on, after a match or something, we lose, and you start blaming me for it.
yeah.
Cheap shot me.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we're going at it.
Yeah.
And I think that you'd have got a lot of heat off that.
Oh, a lot of heat.
A lot of heat.
Well, especially because I mean, you guys were a tag team. You held the straps, and then you, like you said, stop teaming. You're doing this. No rhyme or reason.
Right.
Like a breakup story is money for everyone. A direction for everyone.
It's like when I went to Mid South, they turned me heel
Oh, really?
against Jerry Lawler.
Oh, with Lawler, yeah.
I beat him for the Mid South Heavyweight Championship, and they turned me heel, and I hadn't, I'd never been a heel before, but it worked so well because I had such this all American thing going on. And all of a sudden I walk in, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm the big cocky, guy that thinks I'm better than everybody else, and wrestle him and what's the other cat that was with him, the baby face?
Bill Dundee.
No, not Bill Dundee.
Jeff Jarrett.
Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
And then I had Burt Prentice was my manager,
Okay.
and they had This Is Your Life Todd Champion, and I brought all my football stuff because I played football in college and pro, and so they want me to bring all this stuff out, lay it on tape, and talk about how great I was.
I love it.
And
Well, that's a good angle.
well, it was because then I would come out and talk about, hey, Lawler, you got one of these, and I'd show him my 49er helmet or my Ram helmet
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, and all the other, the football awards and things. So that angle set it up for the Mid-South Coliseum when I beat him for the title. And then we had a rematch because Burt Prentice interfered in our match, right? So Burt Prentice interfered. So now Burt Prentice is handcuffed to Jarrett on the outside of the ring, and we go at it again. And it's a draw, and we go at it again in Nashville. And I had to get a police escort to the freeway because people were so bad at me.
Really?
Well, they got pissed at me. And I remember at the time I wasn't married, and so they come back. I come to the back, and he goes, the policeman comes in. He goes, Todd, he said, we need to escort you to the freeway. And I said, why? He said, because there's some fans in the parking lot. They're going to beat you up. We got to make sure you get out of here. And sure enough, I got in my car, and they drove me out to the freeway. Said, just keep going and don't stop.
Oh.
And I was a heel for that period of time. And I really, like you said, I really did enjoy it.
I really love being a heel. It was so much fun.
I think because I turned and people weren't expecting that.
Yes.
And all of a sudden I walk in, and Burt Prince is going, now we finally got a real athlete here. We've got a real, oh yeah, he said a real athlete, a real champion. And, had me come out, and I took off my coat and flexing and all that stuff, and had that big gold chain
Oh, yeah.
thing on it, champion on it. And so that really kind of took off. And we ran that angle for a little while. That was the last time that I wrestled.
Oh, it was.
That was when I was done there.
You were
I
done.
got engaged, got married. You know, life happens, right?
Mhm. Sure.
It does.
And so got married and, you know, started working and, you know, just kind of did that gig. So do that.
I would love to go back and do it all over again.
Yeah.
Well, the great thing though is we can't do it over again, but you can relive the memories through, you know,
I'll
people
definitely
sign
get
stuff.
them right now.
The YouTube now has the footage, like Todd was saying. You know, I mean, it's better than like you know,
yeah.
storing anything yourself. If you-
Well, go type in "This Is Your Life," Todd Champion.
I gotta say, I've never seen that second thing before.
You seen
I've
it?
seen it.
And that was all. That was not scripted. None of that was scripted. It was everything was off the top of my head.
Thanks, Chris.
Because they never
Check
like you
that
said,
out.
They never did that. You just when you did an interview,
for you,
just
Steve.
cut an interview.
Yeah.
Just cut a promo.
Thank you. Switch that one out for you.
You should watch that. You'll like it. If you watch "This Is Your Life," Todd Champion.
I will definitely. As soon as I go home tonight, I will.
We got to continue our behind the photo. So, favorite
Thanks, guys.
recreational activity? You go, Cullen family. Favorite recreational activity? I guess it's kind of vague.
Oh.
Eating.
Probably. Favorite recreational activity? Fishing.
Yes, we're hot again.
I still fish every day.
Okay, so that is true. Favorite food?
I've been,
Suck it to me, cake.
No.
No, hamburger, french
Cheeseburgers.
fries.
Hamburger and French fries. The food. Dessert is the sakatumi cake.
Cake.
What is the sakatumi cake?
You know, I don't know, but Mama had a little bit of everything in it.
Oh, so it's a family recipe.
Yeah, it's my mom's cake,
Okay.
and it was the best cake. It had cinnamon in it, had nuts, it was like and it was all on the inside of it.
Okay.
So when you cut it, it was delicious.
Does anyone still make it in the family or no?
No,
Ah, that's a
No.
shame.
no.
Another name you guys both mentioned, you know, a legend that's no longer with us, the one and only Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
You know, I know you did a great impression. Have I heard you do an impression in the past,
I can
Todd?
do Dusty.
So, well, maybe you could each do a quick Dusty, but what's a memory you have of Dusty? Such an icon that affected both your lives.
Well, when he changed my name to Todd Champion, we were in Greenville or somewhere doing a TV show, and I was always wrestling the dart matches.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd been wrestling dart matches for six months or so. I wasn't on TV yet, but I was getting a lot of experience, right? And so I walk into the locker room, and Dusty goes, "Come here, Todd Champion. Come here, baby. I want to talk to you for a second." I said, "What's going on, Dusty?" He says, "Come here. I got an idea for you." He walks me in the shower in the locker room, and he goes, "I've been thinking about it a long time." And he says, "We're going to change your name to Todd Champion. It's got a nice ring to it."
Yeah, and that's exactly how it
That's
says.
exactly how he says it. Yeah.
A ring.
And once he did that, I mean, my life changed.
Yeah.
My life changed. It literally changed. And he was, you know, I miss him.
We all miss him.
I miss Dustin big time.
He did the same thing for me. I mean, I was wrestling, and he called me in his office, called me in to cut it. I like saying, I want to send you away to another territory.
Yeah.
And I'll bring you back. I'll make you a superstar.
Yeah.
And so that's when I went.
Right.
I think the following week I was in Puerto Rico.
And he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he did.
He knew he was going to bring you back.
Yeah, he's going to get you off TV.
He wanted to get you the experience, be comfortable
Yeah.
in the ring. And he knew what he was doing. And he said he's going to bring you back. He's going to bring you back.
Yeah, and he did.
And yeah, so.
Well, he had guys too, and it sounds like you guys are both his guys that he really took like a special liking to.
Yeah.
You know, like Sam Houston, Magnum,
Yeah,
Barry
yeah.
Windham, guys like that. You know, that like were his guys, and he would always
Well, me-
Black Bart. He'd
yeah,
always find spots
love
for
Black
them.
Bart.
You know,
Well,
like
me and Sam would wrestle in the Great American Bashes together.
Yeah.
Tag teams. We wrestled the Russians.
Ivan and
Ivan and
Nikita
Nikita.
or Crusher.
It was Crusher then. Nikita hadn't come in yet. And we would have some great matches with those guys. And we were baby faces, you know, and all that. And our first Great American Bash was in Fulton County Stadium.
Oh, where the Braves played. Yeah, yeah.
That was the first one.
That's a big venue.
Yeah, and I think after they would always have like a country western, like David Allen Coe was
yeah.
concert.
Yeah.
So after the show was our show was done, David Allen Coe come on. We're back there talking to David Allen Coe, watching him play and sing. And we're on the stage with him. It was a lot of great memories. A lot of great memories of that.
Yeah, those bashes were big. Those stadiums, right? I mean, D.C., Philly, Atlanta, like you said,
everywhere.
You know, they were in the what's Big Bowl in Miami.
Then we wrestled in the Omni one time with one of the bashes.
Yeah.
And I remember pulling under the parking underneath there and went in there.
I didn't know where to park.
You did?
I pulled in. I'm like, where am I supposed to walk?
I got there like 2 hours early and nobody was there, so I parked. The security car brought me in underneath, and I'm walking through and I'm looking around and there's batting cages in the Omni indoors underground. So I went in there and found baseballs, turned the thing on, and there was some bats laying in there.
Oh, you took
And I was
bat
in the bat
practice?
cages. I was hitting baseballs. Baseballs.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Nice.
So a lot of fun stuff like that.
We got Missy Hyatt, Charlie Norris, Scotty Riggs, Max Payne, Shockmaster, Glacier, Tommy Rich Medusa, and Marcus Bagwell on there. If we could add you, Todd, first.
How's Bagwell doing?
You're doing really good.
Bagwell's good. Yeah, I know he lost his leg, but he's still making signings. He's got a great.
I saw him last weekend in St. Augustine. Still doing conventions. He's doing
Fantastic.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
He had a little rough patch, but he's turned his life around.
Yeah. I think we've all hit a rough patch.
You brought up Portland briefly. I've run a couple of conventions. I was telling you we first spoke a few months ago, Curtis, out in the Pacific Northwest. Such one of those places, you know, the people are so fond for their wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
It's
the
hardcore.
wrestling's ingrained there. There were some people I met that hadn't watched wrestling since the 90s. They weren't watching, they didn't watch WCW, they didn't watch WF. They wanted their Don Owens wrestling, and when that left, they were done.
Yeah.
Talk about your time in Portland, you know, Salem, Eugene, the Portland Sportatorium, all those towns that you
It
hit.
was such a good place to work. I left Calgary to come there. And Scotty the Body, which is Raven, went in and I walked in and everybody's in there and they're all, and Lynn Denton was the booker, and so they run a program and they dropped the belt to me, and Scotty did, and just it was so nice, but the arena was, I mean, everybody was right there. I mean, so you couldn't do nothing. I mean, without them seeing anything. And it was really great. And there was so many good workers. Lynn Denton was a great booker. You know, Raven, you know, worked him just about every night. All those guys, you know, Beetlejuice and Big Beetlejuice. And,
Jeff Warner, JW Stewart,
they were great guys.
Was Piper there when you was up there?
He come in.
Okay.
He come in. But I think more than anything, he was one of the owners.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like booking behind the scenes, I know, at some point.
Yeah. He was a super nice guy. But Lynn Denton did a great job. Al Madrill, bar none, to me, he taught me more than anything about being a heel.
I got one request right now. I think the fans out there will really appreciate it if you did this. And I'm asking you as my tag team partner, would you put on your helmet real quick, please?
I'll put it on for you.
There it is, only for Todd.
Only for Todd. I'll even take my glasses off. Now I'm blind, y'all.
We won't be getting anything signed while Firebreaker Chip is reporting for duty.
Firebreaker Chip.
Oh, that's a
Stop, drop, and roll.
Don't play with matching.
That's right.
That's great job, Richard. Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Well, you're quite welcome, guys.
That's a great one.
This old helmet's been through a lot. Been on a lot of airplanes.
And you can
Been in a
tell
lot of arenas.
that is worn. You know,
It is definitely worn.
that helmet probably has just as many stories as you do.
Oh, absolutely.
Some of you can't tell.
I'm sure. It's still early on the East
I
Coast.
won't tell, but I'll tell you if you pay me enough.
Well, there you go. Yes. Talk.
Easy talk.
When you guys were on the road together, who's driving and who's shotgun?
Me, I drove all the time.
He didn't want me to drive.
Oh, really?
He can't drive.
Oh, no
He
shit.
can drive, but I'm just saying.
He can drive, but he can't drive.
It scared me too much.
Oh, you're
Let me
a
drive.
Harley race over here.
Remember when we were in the car and who was it? It was they bumped us in the rear end. Steiners.
Oh no.
We were going down the interstate,
Right.
and they come and they bumped us, and their rent a car hit our rent a car, and we always got Lincolns.
Yeah, that's
Or-
right.
or
That's right.
Cadillacs.
Yeah.
And they was in a little old car, and they run up behind us, and I mean they hit hard. I was like, holy cow, boys!
Got whiplash.
Yeah,
That's crazy to think, and they were just doing it. Well, they were doing it for fun, right?
yeah, oh
Well,
yeah,
the Steiners,
oh yeah,
they were pranksters.
yeah. Oh, well, they love that.
That's a hell of a prank,
That-
right?
Oh yeah,
Explain that to the rental car company.
Yeah,
What
right.
happened? Well, we're not really sure what happened.
and somebody hit it in the parking lot.
Yeah, you couldn't say it was the Steiners. Yeah.
Their car's messed up too.
I know.
That's crazy.
That's what rental insurance is for.
Exactly.
Now you're talking about on the road. If you spent a lot of time on the road with Curtis, spent a lot of time on the road without Curtis. Were you always driving, Todd?
It seems like I was the sucker that always drove. But I don't mind driving. I get bored sitting in the car.
Yeah.
So I'd rather
I'm like that
drive.
too. Yeah.
I'd rather drive like I drove here today because I didn't want to sit and.
I can't. I can look at my phone for
Yeah.
20 minutes or something, and then I get
Right.
antsy. Yeah.
Right.
I'm
So
like-
I don't mind driving. I drove everywhere, so it was fun.
He was a good chauffeur.
Yeah, I got pretty good at it.
Yeah, you're real good.
So now in other territories, like when you and Ricky Santana, of course, shout out to our buddy Ricky Santana.
Yep.
Out in Portland,
Yep.
you know, when you're making towns, is Ricky driving?
No, it would be me.
Oh, so you were okay.
It would be me.
Okay.
I bought a Pontiac Fiero GT.
Okay.
How'd you
Out
fit
there.
in that thing?
Me and him both fit in that thing.
That's a two-seater, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know.
That's
how
why he
we
was
got
driving
it.
so fast.
But it was so fun. It was
Yeah.
it was like this.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun, especially when you get him in there.
That's like a rear engine car, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Two-seater. You're going to laugh at this, but when I was in the NWA, the Warlord was coming in, and we
They
were,
both him and the Barbarian in the same car.
well, I saw him pull up. He had a Pontiac GT Fiero, which is about the size of this table.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he gets out of this thing, and I'm looking at him going, how does he get He loved that car.
I seen the Barbarian and him get out of it together and go in Gold's gym. Or no, it was King's gym then.
I don't know how they did it.
I
It's
would.
almost like they could just get out of the car, pick it up, put it on their
That's what I mean. Yeah, right.
Walk it in and put it over in the corner.
Yeah, those are both big
crazy.
boys.
Yeah. They
Even now, Terry Warlord's still a big,
Yeah.
big
He's a
guy.
big man.
Yeah, he is.
Those Barb.
You're right. And actually, I think they both still wrestle occasionally.
No way.
I'm pretty sure.
I think
I know
they,
Yeah.
Barbarian does. I don't. But really, they just wrestled. Didn't
Yeah, maybe not every week or every month, but I know they still get in there.
well, God bless them. 'Cause
I could.
Now, you talked about your last match with Jerry Lawler, in Memphis. Talk about your last match, Curtis. Like, what was what led to it and memories of that?
Well, I went out there and I was wrestling, and I'd wrestled him in the main event,
Who's that?
Jerry.
Oh, okay.
And he come in after the match, and I got my pay. I opened up, looked at my pay, and I'm like, here we were in the main event, sold out place. And I'm like,
Something's not adding
yeah.
up.
So I asked, I said, this ain't my money. And he said, oh yeah, that's what you get. I said, oh no, it's not. So I took it and I put it in his chest. I said, that you can have it. I don't need it. And I quit right then and walked out.
Yeah, Memphis is a great area to learn, but they were known to not really.
They short you on money.
Well, they eke out a living, and that's all
Yeah.
you could do. You weren't making money.
Yeah.
And when I went to the Mid South, that was kind of my thing. And after a couple of weeks, I'm like, this is great. We're main events, but I'm not getting main event money either. And it takes two to tango. And I got to work and pay bills just like everybody else. So that's after that gig was over, and we didn't leave on bad terms or anything.
I didn't either. I just left.
It was just like I just can't do it. I mean, it's just the money's not there.
Well, Dutchman Attell had a line. Memphis is a place where you come in there driving a $40,000 car and you leave on a $100,000 Greyhound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It's true.
That's true.
A show I remember that hasn't probably seen the light of day in a while. You were on, Curtis, as Firebreaker Chip. Bodyguards versus Bandits. I remember watching this as a kid from the Sportatorium. It was a big pay-per-view that they did.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And it was like 5-on-5. It was like Super Bowl weekend, so I remember there was like they had like whistles and stuff. I don't remember too many details, but I remember you being involved. I was shocked as a kid that you were now a bad guy.
Yeah.
But it was in the Sportatorium. I want to say JBL, John Hawk Bradshaw was involved. Probably Bobby Duncombe Jr.
Oh, they all.
Can you talk about that time?
Oh man, that was a great time. I was flying in there every weekend to the Sportatorium and doing TV for them, and then I'd fly back out the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for a long time.
Okay.
But for that match, let me tell you one thing. JB Bradshaw,
Yeah.
I wrestled him one time, and he hit me with that lariat.
Ooh.
And I thought he ripped my head off. And I laid there in the ring, and he looked at me, and he's laughing and chuckling. I said, "You killed me." He just laughed. He could give you a clothesline if he wanted to give you a clothesline, and he could lay it in there, or he could do a really good one. But he laid it in on me, and just started dying laughing the whole time. And worst part about it, I started laughing. But it was good. The Sportatorium was really nice. It was one of the nicest places I ever wrestled, because everybody sit on it is like Palladium seating. It was just, it was really great. But let me
Good
tell
for
you,
fans.
when that one thing, oh, there was a lot of stiffness in them matches.
Really?
Yeah.
Now those other characters, you said the Astronaut, and who else was other?
It was going to be me, the Army guy, Firebreaker Chip, Astronaut, and the policeman.
Okay. If you guys could build the rest of the special forces, who would you pick as an astronaut? Who would you pick as the policeman to complete?
I'd put Bill Kazmaier as policeman. Yes.
Okay, Bill Kazmaier. That makes sense, right? Yeah.
I mean, he's an animal.
Yeah, he's
Well,
big.
you didn't thought of bringing. I thought Ranger Ross was in the talks of bringing. Did y'all ever hear that?
We never
No,
heard that.
I never
Yeah.
heard it either.
You know, I read that, but I don't know how true that was. 'Cause,
Right, right.
he
That would have been great.
You know,
Yeah, I think that'd
That
be a
would
good
have been
thing.
really
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Besides, he was a great guy anyway.
Yeah.
The astronaut, the astronaut, if I could pick somebody that I want to be the astronaut,
Yeah.
you're going to laugh at this.
Let's hear it.
Ricky Dragon Steamboat.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Because he's so acrobatic and he
Oh, yeah.
flies.
He can do
He
anything.
can do
He
anything.
can pull anything off.
Right.
Ricky the Astronaut Steamboat. Yeah. Ricky, we're changing direction a bit. Yeah.
That really would have been great to have him.
Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
And Kazmaier would have been a fun addition too.
Oh,
He was the world's strongest man, right?
yeah, and he really was.
Yeah.
Because that was the time he was there with that, like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, 100%. He was there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, he was the strength coach for the Auburn football team.
Yeah.
for a little while.
Really? I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Yeah.
When I opened up my Todd Champion's All-Pro Athletic Club in Lawrenceville,
I remember that.
Gotcha.
Yes,
and
yes.
so all the equipment that was in there, I bought from him. 'Cause
Okay.
He had all this heavy. I had 10,000 pounds worth of free weight.
Oh my
I
God.
had dumbbells that went up to 250 pounds. Of course, nobody ever used those.
Yeah, right.
But I used his equipment as kind of a
Dumbbells 250. Yeah, those
Yeah.
are jeez.
Kazmaier's the only one who can use.
Yeah, Kazmaier's the one
They
curling
just
those.
looked like an axle with two big tires on it.
Yeah. Kaz was a super nice guy.
Yeah, nice
What
guy.
a great guy he was.
That's cool. So, would you agree Ricky Steamboat as the astronaut, Kazmaier as the police officer? Is that what we're doing for our finalized
Wouldn't that be
special
fantastic?
forces? Yeah, yeah.
That'd be a dream come true.
And that'd be great if we had a photo of the four of you, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that'd been cool.
Very fun.
Can you talk about Arn and Zbyszko?
Yeah,
and then Jimmy, we're gonna get your photo.
Yeah, we wrestled them, and we also wrestled them in the Forum out
Yeah.
of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For the world title.
Titles, yeah.
Yeah, out there in the Forum. That was great. It was a great time.
I thought they were going to drop them to us. That would have been
So
great.
who-
They talk about the WWF specifically with the U.S. Patriots, but was there any contact with either of you guys individually before that, after that, hearing from WWF?
I went and did
Dark matches, right?
Yeah, I did a dart match for them in Greensboro, North Carolina, and it was me and we who was my tag team partner? I can't remember who it was. We were wrestling the Samoans.
Oh, okay.
In a
Yeah.
dart match, and we did the match, and everything looked fine, and saw some guys I hadn't seen in a while, and then nothing ever came of it. So really, that was it. That was the only time I went up there for that.
And I went up there with Drew Offnick, and we were called Triple X.
Okay, I remember that. Is that early 2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they flew us up, and they wanted us to do a skit with Moolah, May, and Mark Henry.
Okay.
And so we were at a restaurant. I mean, we tore the restaurant absolutely up. I mean, apart. There was people in half of it that were really eating their supper or whatever they wanted, and half of it, they locked up half of it, and we tore it apart. I mean, tore it apart. And Moolah and May, and me and Drew were making fun of Mark Henry with Moolah and May, and Moolah and May, they beat the ever-loving stuffing out of us. And the whole time I'm laughing, and I got my head, Moolah's on my back, she's hit me. She hit me on the back, and on the ribs, and just, she was crazy, but I loved her to death. But that was so much fun. So then they asked us, me and Drew, to go on the road for the next week.
Okay.
Well, we couldn't go because we had signed a contract with the Pentagon to travel around the world to the different military installations
All right.
and entertain the troops. And I told them, I said, listen, I've already made a commitment. I said, I have to do this. I said, I give my word. And they said, well, just call us when you get back. Well, as soon as we got back, I called. Oh, you should have did it when we had a chance. We don't need you now.
Wow.
And I went, oh. But my word's my bond.
Right. You did the right thing.
Yeah, I did the right. I asked my dad what I should do. He said, "What do you think you should do?" I said, "I think I should go," because my dad was a Marine. He's a Marine. He said, "You got to go entertain the troops."
Well, and that's one of those things on paper with their connection to the military and the troops, and then you being like, I have this commitment. You figured they would appreciate it.
Well, there was 26 of us, and our the last tour we did was Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Korea, Japan, California, Texas, and back to North Carolina. And that was it. And then they just kind of dwindled away. But I did that for a long time. And it was a great job.
You made the right call.
Yeah, I did.
Absolutely.
What's a funny road story you can share with us, Todd? I know there's thousands that happened on the road. There's some you can't share right now. But what's one? Maybe one with you and Curtis, or maybe one pre you and Curtis. Up to you.
I've got one that's pre-Curtis.
Okay.
We were doing a TV taping in Columbia, South Carolina, and I was driving, and we were in Italian Stallion's rent-a-car.
Oh my goodness.
Oh boy.
And so I was driving. I'm not sure who was in the front seat with me, but Boogie and Italian Stallion were in the back seat playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting dark, and we're driving. We're out in the country, And so anyway, so they had that little dome light on in the back, and we're flying through the country. And when it's getting dusk, that light's on. It's kind of a glare.
Mm-hmm.
And we're flying through the country, and I didn't see a stop sign. And we went across the road, past the stop sign, over a ditch, and I ran through a fence, a farmer's fence,
Oh.
into the pasture.
Oh my goodness. You're lucky I didn't get killed.
Well, I know, and so we had to get out of the car, pull the fencing off the front of the car. It was Italian Stallion's car, and then he had to go turn it back in.
Oh my goodness.
So that was kind of a crazy ride. But those are some funny things that happen on the road. There's a million stories.
It's always something.
It's always something. It is. It's always something I miss being on.
Yeah. You guys were all around the country. Going from town to town. Was what was it that you really appreciated?
It's just being around the guys, man. I mean, that's when you've got a good group or a good team of guys, and you're on the road every day, 7 days a week. It's nice to have guys that you can get along with.
Yeah, sure.
And go have dinner with, have a few drinks with, things like that. That's what I miss the guys more than I miss anything. And, it's not about, the ring stuff was great, but just the camaraderie.
Very much so.
The friendships that you develop during that time. And that's why it's going to be fun to go to the gathering in July and see a lot of this.
Are y'all going?
Yeah, going back. I won't be there this year. You know, we were there a few years ago
Right,
together.
right.
Yeah, but I will not be there this year. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, but yeah, so it's just, those bonds and relationships you build, it's
They don't ever go away.
no, they don't.
You see, it's kind of like jumping back in, right? You guys
Yeah.
hadn't seen each other all the years.
It's like you
know,
never missed a beat.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what a true friend is.
You're right, yeah.
Everybody goes their separate ways, and then you get back together. It's just like yesterday.
Yeah. Sure was.
Now,
Like today at the parking lot.
Yeah.
oh, did you guys see each other out there?
I called him. I said, "Where are you at?" I'm here, and he goes, "I'm trying to find it." And he pulled the parking lot, and I was pulling the parking lot.
Oh, so
That's the first time we saw each other.
Oh, golly, 30 years.
30 years.
did you knew right away, right?
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I recognize that mug anyway.
All right. That handsome devil.
If you guys had to pick one match each from your run together, favorite match for you, Todd, favorite match for you, Curtis, what would it be?
Freebirds. I just got Freebirds.
I think Freebirds too.
Tag title win?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was is a big moment. I think headlined the main event, I think,
Yeah.
on the syndicate.
Y'all still remember the finish? You remember the
Yeah,
finish?
I did to this day. Remember?
Yeah.
So I come in, boom, boom, boom. Actually, we're both in the ring in the finish, if I remember correctly, and you and
Michael Hayes.
Michael Hayes did a spot, and I had to jump over, and you set it up to jump over to shoot Michael Hayes off. I had to jump. You had Jimmy Garvin was going to backdrop me. I jumped over Jimmy Garvin, and I had to fly over him backwards and hit him with Hayes with the elbow.
Yep.
That was hard, but we figured it out. But it was
You made it work.
we made it work. Yeah, yeah,
Those guys were really good to us.
yeah. They were.
Pros, right?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better than myself.
Do you have maybe a funny rib that you're able to share with us? I'm sure there's some that you can't right now, but some there's got to be a few nice ones, funny ones. Maybe not nice ones, but funny ones.
Oh, I got one. This is what it was probably Raging Bull Manny Fernandez put a lock on my gym bag.
Oh, did he?
He put those big metal locks, put it on there, and I couldn't get my gym bag. And so I just carried my gym bag around with that lock on it for like 2 years. I couldn't get it off.
The rib for me would have been when Bill Kazmaier put me in a bear hug,
Oh man.
and Rick Steiner took my wrestling boots and tied them to the rafters.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It took one of them, tied it to the rafter. I had the other one on, and the bell's ringing for me to go to the ring.
And you couldn't get your boot off.
No, it was still up there. When I come back, I had to climb up there and get it.
Did you try to get out of Kazmaier, or was it just like you knew it was not going to be?
There's no way. He got me in the bear hug. I was like, okay.
You enjoyed the judges. I may as well stay here.
You couldn't move no matter what.
Yeah.
World's strongest man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know if how much leeway there is in that bear hug. Yeah.
There wasn't no leeway.
Yeah.
He wants you to leave. You weren't going to.
Yeah. So you're just watching Steiner with the boot.
Yeah, and they climbed up rafters and took shoestrings tied to a rafter. Then after the match I had to go. I went 1 foot, one boot on.
That's amazing.
Didn't last long.
No, sure.
But I had to come back and climb up there and tie my boot down. They tied them in knots.
Of course they did. Now, Ric Flair, of course, a big part of Jim Crockett Promotion and WCW.
Yes.
What's a memory or a story that you guys have of the one and only Nature Boy?
In ring or out of ring?
Oh, well, I'll let you decide what direction you'd like to go, Todd.
Well, in the ring, my first, I think wrestling Rick for the first time on television was probably the best experience I've ever had. It wasn't a long match, but it was a television match, for a TV title match, and that was my first experience of wrestling the top guy in the company.
Yep.
And understanding what being a real professional is all about. And we had a match. He made me look great. Of course, he put me in the figure 4, which was fine. And but that match there, just I've never forgotten it. Out of all those matches, and it wasn't a long match. It was maybe a 5-6 minute TV match, right?
Yep.
But it's a match for some reason just stuck with me. all these years to this day, I still remember that match like it was yesterday.
Absolutely.
And what about you, Curtis? Any memories of Nate?
Well, I met him right out of college at Gold's Gym, him, Tully, and R. And they handed me their Rolexes and their diamond rings, and I was just a kid right out of college. I worked at Juice Bar as a personal trainer. They'd
Sure.
come in and hand it to me, and just made friends with them. Well, eventually I just started. They come in, I'd just put them on, and so they asked me one time. Tully did. He said, "You ever thought about wrestling?" I said, "No, I'm having too much fun chasing women and bodybuilding."
Yeah, sure.
He said, "You might want to rethink your priorities right there."
Your career path.
Yeah, he said it'd be a whole lot better the other way.
Right.
So I didn't say a word. I just laughed. And a couple years later, I was living in the mountains. I had a private security business up there, and my ex-wife and I was watching it on TV, and I told her, I said, "I think I can do that. I think I can do that as good as them guys." And she laughed at me and said, "No, you can't." So I just said, "Okay." So next day I got up and I called Jim Crockett Promotions in Charlotte. They were happened to have a tryout. Well, I got lucky enough and I made the tryout at Gene
Yeah.
Gene and Nelson's camp, and I got lucky enough to make it. And then eventually, I went into the dressing room and there's Rick, Tully, and Arden. And I said, "Hey guys," and they looked and they looked kind of stunned, and they said, "Curtis, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I figured I'd try it." And so, lo and behold, here I am, 30 years later.
Yeah. Talking about your experiences.
Yeah, but once I learned how to wrestle, when Jim Crockett was selling it to Ted Turner, they wanted somebody to go with Rick to Atlanta to do all the moves on video, so they could show it to the upper echelon.
Sure.
So they called me. Jim Crockett was to call me, and I went. They flew me to Atlanta and went into the studio, and there's Rick, and I'm like, "Oh wow!" So they choose me to show every move that could be made, and I reckon I did okay because they got the contract, or they sold the business to me.
Right.
So and Rick had to be the one that do it, but that was so nice that they even thought about somebody like me.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Now, we got a couple more coming up in Sharpie. If we can we could just keep these in the corner, just
All right.
Tough Champion and Firebreaker Chip. And I guess the reason she's your ex-wife, right? Ex-wife for a reason. You said
Keyword ex-wife.
you said she eating her words though when she saw you all over national TV.
Oh, I don't know. She's probably laughing. It's like, break his neck.
Oh God.
Well, you know what's funny? He was talking about Portland, that area up there. I had no idea that my grandparents on my mom's side were wrestling fans.
Really?
Yeah, and they used to have wrestling parties in the 60s at their house.
Where? In California?
No, in Oregon.
Oh, in Oregon. Really?
They lived in I think at the time they lived in Portland.
Oh, that's cool.
And they would have wrestling parties. Unfortunately, they passed away before they got to see me wrestle, but that was kind of, I had no idea that they were wrestling.
Wow.
So I got in the business, and my mom goes, they used to have wrestling parties.
So you got a connection to the business without even knowing it. Yeah.
Didn't even know.
And you said out in Portland, that's that TV was so strong.
That's way cool.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Todd.
Grandma and Grandpa are still looking down at you laughing and smiling.
Probably.
Yeah. It's like, we knew he was going to do it.
Well, they had the best view in the house. They saw all your matches. Yeah, I mean,
I wish I'd have said that. That's perfect.
As we wind down the live portion, once again, it's still time to take up on that deal for Todd. But if you want something signed a certain way, like Buddy, Bobby, Anthony, TW, let us know. If not, we're going to get some extras, but they're going to be signed, relatively, basic and to the point. Now, let's wind down the live portion. Todd Curtis, everyone tuned in live for the last couple of hours. We've had you on before, Todd. First time working with you, Curtis. What's something you want to say to everyone that's tuned in, spent some time with us, throughout the last few hours?
Well, we appreciate the support. It's nice to be remembered in a business that's ever changing, but we have great memories. We hope that we gave our fans everything that they wanted out of this. and we appreciate you remembering us.
Absolutely. I'm tickled to death. I'm just honored that somebody remembered me, you know? I mean, I'm tickled to death with that.
Right.
But you know what? And all these people that's been calling in and getting our autographs, and it's just amazing to me that somebody still remembers us. It's been 30 years, and this will be the first one that I've ever done, any signing whatsoever.
And it's first one with me and you.
Yeah, we haven't been together in 30 years.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just fantastic. It's really nice. I'm tickled to death.
Well, we're going to do more of these. I promise you.
Yeah.
We're going to do a lot more of these, and we'll bring some surprises with us when we.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'd love to have you guys back again.
Todd's got a surprise in mind, and everybody will be really surprised. I'm not going to say what it is. Remember?
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think Todd's just as surprised as I am. When you said that.
No. He had to think about.
We talked about this on the
that.
phone, but I'm working on it now. It's an idea that I've been throwing around for a long time. I've got a connection with a toy company.
Ooh.
And we're looking at Patriots action figures.
Well, that's something that I know very, very cool. A lot of
Yeah.
people would be interested
Right.
in picking those up.
Right.
You know,
So-
when that
I'd
happens.
be interested in just
Yeah.
for me.
Well, first ever figures too. I mean, they should have happened years ago. I mean, you guys are made to be figures. You know.
So we're working on that right now. It's and I'm still putting pen to paper.
Mm-hmm.
But that is something that the next time we get together, we might have a couple of those.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be nice.
Hopefully. Guys, thank you for tuning in, not only today, but to all of our virtual signings over the weekend. We'll have updates on shows and signings we have coming up. Thank you for keeping the captain's boat fueled as we sail the 7 seas throughout the country. But, as always, we got to end this the way we do all our virtual signings, which is cheers to the working man. Thank you again, guys.
See you later, guys. Thank you.
Have
Bye-bye.
a good one.